Good morning, Jason. It is wonderful to catch up with you. You look particularly thoughtful today. Is there something specific on your mind?
Good morning, Sarah. You caught me reflecting on a major decision. I have actually been contemplating a career pivot recently. After years of working in traditional corporate logistics, I am questioning whether I am truly fulfilling my potential or merely following a comfortable routine.
That is a profound realization, Jason. Making a shift like that requires immense courage, especially when you have already established a stable path. What triggered this sudden impulse to reconsider your trajectory?
I suppose it was a gradual buildup rather than a sudden revelation. Lately, I have noticed that the work no longer challenges my critical thinking skills. I feel as though I am operating on autopilot, executing repetitive tasks without driving meaningful strategy. I want to pivot towards sustainable commercial strategies or trade development.
I can completely relate to that feeling of professional stagnation. There comes a point where job security is no longer enough to offset the lack of intellectual stimulation. However, transitioning into a new specialization inevitably comes with a learning curve and initial uncertainty. Are you prepared to embrace that volatility?
To be frank, the prospect of starting anew is somewhat daunting, but the risk of remaining stagnant terrifies me even more. I believe that stepping outside my comfort zone is essential if I want to cultivate new competencies and maintain long-term professional relevance.
Absolutely. In today's rapidly evolving economic landscape, adaptability is arguably the most valuable asset one can possess. Have you considered pursuing specialized certifications or engaging in executive networking to bridge the gap?
Yes, I have already enrolled in an advanced strategic management course that starts next month. Furthermore, I intend to attend several industry summits this autumn to establish meaningful connections with professionals who are already operating in that space.
That sounds like a remarkably structured and proactive approach, Jason. Surrounding yourself with forward-thinking individuals will undoubtedly accelerate your transition and provide invaluable industry insights.
Speaking of rapid evolution, Sarah, I was reading an insightful article yesterday regarding the profound impact of artificial intelligence on daily communication and human connection. It argued that while digital tools enhance efficiency, they subtly diminish the depth of our interpersonal relationships. What is your perspective on this?
That is a nuanced topic. On one hand, technology enables us to maintain cross-border connections effortlessly and streamlines complex tasks that used to consume hours. On the other hand, there is an undeniable paradox. We are more digitally interconnected than ever before, yet many individuals report feeling increasingly isolated.
Exactly. The reliance on text-based communication often strips away subtle nonverbal cues, such as tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. Consequently, conversations can become transactional rather than empathetic.
Precisely. True human connection relies on presence, active listening, and shared vulnerability, elements that cannot be fully replicated through a smartphone screen or an automated response system. Algorithms are designed to optimize efficiency, whereas genuine relationships require time, patience, and occasional friction.
Do you think society will eventually experience a countercultural movement where people intentionally disconnect from digital platforms to reclaim authentic, face-to-face interactions?
I believe that movement is already underway, albeit on a small scale. You see a growing trend toward digital detox retreats, mindfulness practices, and a renewed appreciation for analog experiences, like reading physical books or attending live local gatherings. People are slowly recognizing the necessity of establishing clear boundaries with technology.
That is a comforting thought. It highlights the fact that, despite our fascination with innovation, our fundamental human needs for belonging and genuine empathy remain unchanged.
Changing the subject slightly, Jason, I remember you mentioned last month that you were reevaluating your personal financial strategy. How has that process been unfolding?
It has been an eye-opening journey, to say the least. I used to view personal finance purely through the lens of saving money, simply setting aside whatever remained at the end of the month. However, I have come to realize that wealth accumulation requires a strategic, investment-oriented mindset rather than a defensive one.
That distinction is crucial. Saving money merely preserves capital, whereas intelligent allocation of capital allows your assets to grow and outpace inflation over time. What specific investment vehicles have you been exploring?
I have adopted a diversified portfolio approach. Rather than placing all my resources into volatile individual stocks, I have allocated a significant portion toward broad market index funds, real estate investment trusts, and maintaining a solid, liquid emergency reserve.
Diversification is universally recognized as the cornerstone of risk management. It mitigates exposure to market volatility while capturing steady long-term compounding growth. Did you consult a financial advisor, or did you conduct independent research?
I spent considerable time studying financial literature and analyzing market trends independently, but I also sought professional guidance to validate my long-term assumptions. I wanted to ensure my asset allocation aligns with my risk tolerance and future retirement goals.
That balanced strategy is very prudent. Many novice investors make the mistake of making emotionally driven financial decisions during market turns, whereas a disciplined, long-term perspective prevents panic selling and maximizes gains.
Indeed, financial discipline is ultimately less about predicting market movements and more about managing human psychology and emotional impulses.
Have you noticed how consumer behavior is shifting toward ethical sustainability lately, Jason? It seems that more individuals are scrutinizing the environmental footprints of the brands they support.
Absolutely, Sarah. Conscious consumerism has moved from a niche subculture into the mainstream. Consumers are increasingly demanding transparency regarding supply chains, material sourcing, and fair labor practices before committing their financial support to a company.
It is a welcome shift, though it brings its own set of challenges, namely greenwashing. Many corporations exploit eco-friendly marketing terminology to project a sustainable image without implementing substantial operational changes.
That deceptive practice is unfortunately widespread. It places the burden of verification on the consumer, requiring us to carefully investigate whether a brand's environmental claims are backed by legitimate third-party certifications or merely clever public relations.
Precisely. True sustainability requires a systemic shift away from the linear take, make, waste economic model toward a circular economy where products are designed for durability, repairability, and eventual recycling.
On an individual level, adopting a minimalist philosophy can be immensely liberating. By intentionally curbing impulse purchases and prioritizing quality over quantity, we not only reduce environmental waste, but also declutter our physical and mental spaces.
I could not agree more. True luxury lies not in the accumulation of excess possessions, but in the freedom of intentional, unburdened living.
Speaking of enriching our mental space, Sarah, have you had the opportunity to immerse yourself in any compelling literature or art exhibitions recently?
As a matter of fact, I recently visited a retrospective exhibition featuring modern abstract painting at the Contemporary Art Gallery downtown. I was initially skeptical, as abstract art can occasionally feel pretentious or inaccessible, but the collection was profoundly moving. The artist utilized bold textures and contrasting color palettes to evoke complex human emotions, grief, resilience, hope, without relying on realistic representation. It reminded me that art does not need to mimic reality to convey profound truth.
That sounds like an extraordinary experience. Art has a unique capacity to bypass our analytical defenses and evoke raw emotional resonance. It invites the viewer to become an active participant in interpreting meaning, rather than a passive observer.
Exactly. Do you find time for artistic or creative pursuits amidst your demanding schedule, Jason?
I make a conscious effort to dedicate time to creative writing and classical music appreciation. In a culture that relentlessly glorifies productivity and constant output, engaging in creative activities purely for intrinsic pleasure feels almost revolutionary.
It is a vital form of intellectual nourishment. Rest and unstructured leisure are not frivolous luxuries, They are essential prerequisites for sustained creativity, mental clarity, and emotional well-being.
Having lived and worked in various international environments, Sarah, how do you think exposure to diverse cultural perspectives shapes an individual's worldview?
It is transformative beyond measure. Interacting with diverse cultures forces you to dismantle your implicit biases and recognize that your personal cultural norms are not universal standards, but merely one of many valid ways to interpret the world.
It fosters profound cognitive flexibility. You learn that what may be considered direct and efficient communication in one culture might be perceived as impolite or abrasive in another. Navigating those subtle nuances requires acute cultural intelligence and adaptability.
Indeed, cultural intelligence involves observing without immediate judgment, listening attentively to underlying context, and adjusting your communication style to foster mutual respect. It is a critical capability in our interconnected global economy.
Mastering foreign languages plays a pivotal role in that process as well. Language is not merely a utility for exchanging information, it is a mirror reflecting a culture's underlying values, historical philosophy, and social hierarchy.
That is beautifully expressed, Jason. When you learn a new language, you do not simply acquire vocabulary. You adopt a new perspective through which to view human existence. Life inevitably presents us with unexpected setbacks, whether professional hurdles, personal disappointments, or broader societal instability. What philosophical framework do you rely upon to maintain resilience during difficult times?
I frequently draw inspiration from Stoic philosophy, particularly the principle of distinguishing between what is within our control and what lies outside it. We cannot control external events, economic shifts, or the actions of others. We can only control our internal judgments, emotional responses, and subsequent actions.
That core Stoic tenet offers incredible psychological stability. When you stop expending energy attempting to control uncontrollable external circumstances, you can redirect that energy toward constructive problem-solving and self-mastery.
Precisely. Adversity, when viewed through a constructive lens, ceases to be an obstacle and becomes a catalyst for personal growth. It tests our character, refines our priorities, and builds mental fortitude that smooth sailing could never cultivate.
As the ancient Stoics famously noted, the obstacle is the way. Reframing challenges as opportunities for character development completely alters your emotional posture toward hardship.
It shifts your mindset from passive victimhood to active agency. You realize that while discomfort is inevitable, suffering is largely a choice dictated by our interpretation of events.
Looking back at our conversation today, Jason, we have covered an impressive breadth of topics, from professional career pivots and economic sustainability to philosophy, art, and language learning.
It has been an extraordinarily stimulating exchange, Sarah. Engaging in deep intellectual dialogue like this always leaves me feeling inspired, mentally sharp, and reflective.
That is the true power of meaningful conversation. It challenges our assumptions, broadens our horizons, and deepens our mutual understanding. I am genuinely looking forward to hearing how your strategic management course unfolds next month.
Thank you for your unwavering encouragement, Sarah. I will certainly keep you updated on my progress. Shall we schedule our next coffee discussion for 2 weeks from now?
That sounds delightful. Let us aim for the same time and place. Until then, take care, stay curious, and enjoy your creative writing sessions.
You as well, Sarah. Have a wonderful, inspiring week ahead. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, Jason. See you soon.